Welcome, everyone, to the Flower Files podcast sponsored by Wildly Native Flower Farm. Here, everyone is welcome to talk with fellow flower lovers, including real perspectives from the farm, the flowers, and me, the florist.
From the messy day-to-day operations down to the details and even business perspectives, this podcast has a little bit of everything to keep it real. We know that life can get crazy and we don't always have the time to spend on what we love, so we are here to help you take a little time to indulge in nature. I'm Liza Getz.
I'm Lizzie Frey, and we are the team that makes this podcast. Every once in a while, we have a couple guests, this business thing, and what we are working with is called life.
Join us as we walk you through how to think outside the box, talk from the farmer's perspective, have honest conversations about florals, and how to run, well, life. So listen in.
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, in the podcast section, and any of your other podcast platforms. You can also find us online at wildlynativeflowerfarm.com, and in an easy way, you can look in the show notes, and all of the information will be right there for easy access.
Hi guys, welcome to the Flower Files. Today we have a little bit of a different story to tell you. I'm going to start today with something that may feel a little uncomfortable. If you don't ask your florist the right questions, you're not hiring a professional. You're placing a very expensive gamble. And I say that with so much love because most couples don't know what questions to ask because they're excited, they're super overwhelmed, and they're looking at Pinterest photos and Instagram reels and thinking, this should be easy. It's not easy. It's worth it, but it's not easy. So welcome back to the Flower Files on a very chilly day. I'm Liza from Wildly Native Flower Farm, and today we're talking about the questions you must ask your florist before you sign anything. This episode is for couples planning a wedding, planners who want smoother days, and honestly, florists who want to raise the bar in this industry. This is not a call-out episode. This is a clarity episode, because the right florist will love these questions. So why does this matter? Florals are not just decor. They affect your timeline, your stress level, your photos, your entire guest experience, and how your day feels. But yet, florals are one of the least understood vendor categories. Pinterest teaches us what weddings are supposed to look like, but it doesn't teach us how weddings actually work. And when something goes wrong with florals, it usually isn't because someone didn't try hard enough. It's because those expectations weren't aligned from the start. So today, I'm walking you through the questions that create that alignment. So there's no questions left. So the first question should be, do you specialize in weddings? Because this matters more than people realize. Weddings are not everyday floristry. They require timelines, specific crews, lots of mechanics, transportation, contingency planning. Weddings are wrapped up with logistics and beauty. Someone can be incredibly talented, but still not be equipped for wedding production. And I'm not throwing shade, but it's just a different skill set. It's not your FTD florist. It takes time. It takes practice. You have to know how to do it. If you're just getting started, it's okay to be transparent with some of those brides and say, this is too much for me, or I'm not sure if I can handle this. Trust me, that bride's going to appreciate that. So question 2, how many weddings do you take per weekend? There is no right or wrong number here, but there is a transparency issue. If your florist has 3 weddings all on the same day, you need to understand what that could mean for you. Who's loading the truck? Who's setting up? Who's handling problems? You're not being demanding by asking, you're being informed. Question 3, who will be on site on my wedding day? This is a big one. Will it be the person you met with? Is it a lead designer? Is it an assistant? And listen, teams are great, and clarity is everything. So you want to make sure you understand who's actually going to be there. So let's talk a little bit about the flowers themselves. Question 4. Where do you florals come from? For us, that's easy. We're a flower farm. But for other places, it's a little bit different. And there's no moral high ground here and there's no judgment. Local flowers behave differently, are sourced differently, and are used a little bit differently. Flowers that are grown to live on a truck for a little bit are a little different than flowers that are grown for hands. They have a little bit of a different process behind them. Lastly, your florist should be able to explain the difference, and they should be able to not have to be defensive about it. They should be able to align to your vision with the type and style of florals to meet what you would like without promising what flower it's going to be. So let me explain that differently. So what happens if a flower isn't available? Question 5. This is so important. It is kind of what I was alluding to in that last question. Because let's be realistic. Weather happens. Trucking issues happen. International issues happen. Crop failures happen. Shipping delays happen. All of these issues are real and can happen. And I always try to explain to my brides that I'm not going to promise you an exact stem and an exact shade. It doesn't always work like that realistically. I'm going to promise you that you're going to have the correct feel, the correct look, and the correct overall vision put together. If someone guarantees exact flowers months out, be careful. Be very, very careful with that, because timelines change, availability changes. There's so many things that can change. So if you want a very specific shade of a very specific rose, for example, just be flexible. Be flexible and understand that things can happen. Question 6. Can you explain your design process? Listen to how they answer. Does that florist talk about collaboration? Do they talk about setting the mood and making sure that what you want is going to be matched? Are they going to talk about movement and how the flowers work? Are they going to talk about flexibility? Are they going to talk about the overall style, or are they going to talk only about a template? There's a really big difference between a system and a formula, and that's really important. If you have a formula, and by all means, you can have a formula. You need a formula for things to be similar, but you also need a system so you don't have something that's going to be super rigid, if that makes sense. So let's talk about logistics and reality. There's a lot of logistics that go in to a wedding setup. There's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes. So what's included in breakup? What's included in setup and breakdown? And this is where budgets often have the most question. And this is where there's a lot of places where I guess you could say the budgets quietly explode because people don't understand how things work. You have the labor hours, you have the potential for candles to be included, you have installations which are on-site or off-site, which take a ton of time. And then the one thing that people don't always think about is the tear down after. After the end of the night, we have to come back and we have to strike it all out and make sure it's all cleaned up. And if it's vague to you and you don't understand, ask again. Don't ever hesitate to ask for more clarity, because that clarity now prevents stress later. There's a lot of logistics in all of the setup, preparation, and strike down. So make sure you understand the different layers there. So that brings me to question number 8. What does my investment actually cover? You're not just paying for flowers. You're paying for the sourcing of the flowers. You're paying for the conditioning of the flowers, no matter how they come in. You're paying for the design of the flowers. It's one thing to have a big group of them, but they have to be designed. You're paying for the labor behind the flowers. You're paying for the transportation for us to get them to your event. You're also paying for insurance, because we all have to carry insurance for all of the wedding installations that we do, even down to the insurance for the vehicles that we drive. You're paying for the waste removal. Yes, you're paying for the waste, because flowers are perishable. And at the end of the night, as much as we try to reuse them, there's many things that we will end up having to throw away. The loss is built into the pricing. It's reality, it's not greed. It takes time for us to wash, clean, reorganize, and get everything back to where we start from so we can do it again the following weekend. Question 9. This is one of my favorites, because I feel like people are hesitant to ask this because in their mind they're not picturing anything happening that's wrong. So question 9, what's your backup plan if something goes wrong? Because we've delivered in tropical storms, because the venue hasn't canceled anything. So weather, illness, logistics. The most experienced professionals, we don't fear this question, because experience shows up most clearly and how you answer that in your backup plan. What are the plans that are in place? If the answer is vague and, oh, we'll just figure it out, there's no details included, that would make me a little uncomfortable, because it tells me that they don't have experience enough to know how to build a backup plan. It's not reassurance. You need a little more information than that. And ask that question again until you're comfortable with the answer. Contracts. So, question 10, contracts and communication. How do you communicate leading up to your event? For us, I never, ever want to be that vendor who sends out a contract, we work with the bride, we get the vision, we have everything down pat, we send the contract, they sign, and we're excited and they're excited, and then you hear nothing. So from us, you have the option of email, phone calls, meetings. You don't need constant contact, but you need predictable contact. You need things to be consistent, so we have checkpoints along the way. We do a lot of different communication throughout our process. It helps us stay informed and it helps them stay informed, because I don't want it to be like, hey, great, day, week before. So no, we're going to ask questions down to the ribbon color, down to the type of votive. Contracts aren't a red flag. They protect you, they protect the florist, and they protect the working relationship. So a good florist is going to walk you through it. Walk through all of the pieces, understand all of those questions that are included in there. So question 11, so 10 plus 1, okay. What do past clients say about working with you? For us, if anybody asks me that, I immediately send them to my Google reviews. Go and check out my Google, because those reviews are real, they're live, and they're timely. Look beyond the highlight reels. You guys all know social media, everybody shows the pretty. We're a little different. I try to show all the reality. But read reviews, look for flags like communication, calm under pressure, follow through, timeliness. Those pretty pictures are super easy to put together. Flowers are amazing. You're going to have pretty pictures, but you want to have, throughout those Google reviews, you want to have consistency. You want to look for consistent comments in those reviews, okay? So our last question, here's the doozy, okay? Here's the question that's quiet. It's the one that I guess no one really teaches you to ask. And if you're a planner, I know that this is really important for you as well. One of the biggest things that is important to me when I do that initial phone call is this question, is do we feel aligned? Does your vision and what you want match what we do? Will you trust us? Will you feel heard with us? Do you feel calm after talking to us? and excited do you, which is a juxtaposition, I know, but you want to feel assured. We are going to be with you on an incredibly emotional day. That alignment really matters, and it's really important, because if you're going to come to me and ask me for white roses, baby's breath, and everything tight and round, we don't align. I would do it for a friend. I would do it for somebody who I love dearly, because I have, and if you look at our stuff, I want to be transparent. You may see some of that, but a stranger I wouldn't do that with. So this episode is not about fear. It's not about stress. It's about empowerment. It's about making sure that the right florist welcomes these questions, answers them clearly, doesn't rush you, doesn't ever pressure you, and it lets you feel like you. The biggest thing with wedding flowers is making sure that you understand how everything works, you don't have any questions. And listen, it's going to be okay to have questions, and you're going to have little shifts, because as you go through the process, your vision is going to refine. So this episode is not about fear, it's not about stress, it's about better questions, because better questions create better experiences. So thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for listening a little bit about what we do and how those flower questions really matter. If you like this episode, if you know someone who's getting ready to jump into the flower world with weddings, send this episode to them. If you're a planner, send this to one of your planner friends. And I would love feedback. Drop me some notes in the bottom that say, you forgot this question. And thanks for being here. And thanks for not minding me stealing the heat from the stove.